Hey Nathan, where's Andre?
Oh, he's out having fun right now, away from us. I'm sad.
He's on the East Coast driving the new Rivian R1S, and you know what S stands for?
Suburban wannabe.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah, pretty good, right?
Yeah. No, it stands for SUV, I believe.
Yeah.
It's the Rivian SUV, the all-new, all-electric SUV. And before we get into our main topic, which is how do electric vehicles, specifically how does the new Ford F-150 Lightning tow, let's kind of talk about the new, Rivian. Why not?
Okay, well, as far as I could tell, two things about the new Rivian R1S. One is that it looks a lot like the R1T.
Yeah.
Because it's basically the same vehicle, but they have a shell on the back of it and added a couple rows of seats. I think it's 3-row, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, Andre would know that.
Yeah.
I don't know either. I think it's...
Stay tuned.
I don't think it's 3-row. I think it's 2-row.
You think it's 2-row? Okay.
I think so. I don't know. Well, if you guys know, let us know.
Yeah, let us know in the comments.
You'll know more about it than we do.
I'm pretty sure it's the same drivetrain or a similar drivetrain, and they had this vehicle 2 years ago at Sundance Films.
Oh, they had it
Remember?
3 years ago at
Was
the
it
LA
3
Auto
years
Show.
ago?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm talking about the
Yeah.
SUV one.
Yeah.
So I remember seeing it and was driving around a little bit. I honestly don't know what other specifics we could talk about because there's just not much out there.
Well, so let me do a little bit of ranting. Can
Okay.
I go with a rant? And by the way, we have found a huge Achilles heel when it comes to electric vehicles. I mean, it's a massive, and we're going to talk about that in a second because you just did this incredible test where we actually ran the Lightning against a gas-powered truck with two identical trailers as far as each of them would go.
Yep.
And we'll actually spill the beans. We'll let you know what happened in that test before we publish the video because we're in the middle of editing it right now.
Right.
So you're going to want to stay tuned for that. But let me do a little ranting, okay?
Okay.
So Andre gets to Rivian, and he calls me last night, and he's like, hey, I want to do a video, but they won't let me show the interior of the truck. Yeah. So we have a video out there. It's of course over at alltfl.com, but they wouldn't let him show the interior. And I'm like, well, that's odd. Why wouldn't they show the interior since we know what the interior of the truck looks like?
Right.
And I know for sure that this is not much different.
Well, at least in the very front of the vehicle. I mean, maybe they don't want us to see the back row.
So here, I don't want to get down on manufacturers. I don't want this to sound like, I'm because they all kind of play these marketing games.
Yeah, they do.
But so I jump on YouTube and I put in the truck, and they had given the truck to an influencer. This really, she's actually really good. I watched her video. I was really impressed with her, and she had driven it from LA on vacation for a week. Showing the interior, showing the exterior. So why would you give it to somebody for a week to drive and then, bring in journalists and say, oh, by the way, the interior is embargoed? It makes no sense, Andre. I am completely stupefied, Nathan. And I thought hard about it. What do you think is the reason for that? So basically, there's a video with the interior out there.
Yeah, I got you.
This girl just drove it for a week.
Was it a pre-production version, perhaps?
Didn't say that.
Okay, but my guess is the only reason why they would do that, because if you want to keep to an embargo, right, that means it has to go across the line. Everybody has to have the same, requirements for the embargo. If this individual already broke an embargo, which...
No, they didn't bring an embargo.
No, well, that's what I'm saying, is that
They gave it to her to take for a vacation.
So the only reason why I would think that they would say, no, you can't shoot the interior is because it's pre-production. But I don't think that's the case.
I think they want their cake and they want to eat it too. I think what they want is they want to give the vehicle either to paid influencers, and this isn't just Rivian, this is industry-wide. I was reading a comment this morning on my video. I just got to drive the new Cadillac Lyric, which is their all-electric, first all-electric Cadillac, and interestingly, the first of many. There will be no new Cadillacs that are not electric.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
So Andre got to go on the CTS-V Escalade. That's the last of the gas ones.
Yeah, the Blackwing Escalade engine thingy.
Yeah. And now they're all going to be electric. So let me tell you. So there's a comment on there, and the comment was something to the effect, and I could probably find it, but it would take a long time, so I don't want to put you guys through that search. But the comment was something like, I don't want to watch this video because I want owners to give me the truth, people who actually own it. And I thought to myself, first of all, there's two kinds of owners, right? they're the fan boys and girls, right?
Yeah.
Tesla's full of them. And we just did a video with a Rivian where we drag raced it, and one of Rivian dad brought it, and I asked him this very simple question. I said, what don't you like about your Rivian? And he said nothing. Right. So this is the video they're waiting for, right?
Yep.
The video where the fanboy reviews the Rivian and just completely is besmirked by it.
Yeah, they laud everything about it, and they don't find anything wrong with it. And we've seen that before with, almost every brand out there has a fanboy or two, right? So
Not just Android too. There's a lot. I mean, Tesla. It's not hundreds, tens of thousands.
Tesla's pretty crazy. But then there's the other one that you're referring to, which is the one who's a more realistic owner who does find fault in it, right?
Well, no, there's not that. That is very rare. What you get then is the influencer, right? Mm-hmm. Which I think this was the Rivian story, where or Motor Trend, which did the same thing with the truck, where they're actually paid by Rivian to go and produce a video that feels and looks and smells like it's an owner, but in fact is an influencer. So when we do, we're very transparent. So the way we do this is when we do a sponsored video, we are sure to click the little sponsored video box on YouTube, and people know that this is something that, and the other thing we don't do is we don't take money from manufacturers.
Correct.
Right? So Motor Trend got the Rivian truck well ahead of time. They drove it on the Transamerica Trail, but that was a paid-for commercial by Rivian, right? I believe. I could be wrong, but the sense I got is that there was some money that exchanged. We don't do that. So when I see a comment saying, that you guys are biased and that you don't, provide honest information, it just really kind of makes me crazy, because I know how transparent we are and how hard we work to be completely honest, completely transparent with what we're doing, versus this entire media landscape of everything that is paid for or somehow biased because they love the truck, because they hate the truck. The other thing that happens is when people start getting into YouTube, they figure out that there's two kinds of videos that make money, right? There's the kind where I love all this, and then there's the kind that makes more money. I hate. Yeah. So they're more likely to get views and clicks by producing the hate video. So this is the video that the guy wants, right? This is what I hate about mine, because that owner knows that if he does a litany of hates or like don't buy an electric car, right? There's I don't want to name names, but there are plenty of YouTube channels that do nothing but talk about how bad vehicles are, and that's because that gets clicks.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Right,
sorry, I'm off my.
That's fine. That's fine. Just a real quick, it's a slight rebuttal here.
I appreciate it. No, give me your views.
No, I agree with a lot of what you're saying. There are other types of views out there on YouTube and other types of social media where there are owners who have a love and hate with the vehicle. There are quite a few of those people out there who are really honest. And in many cases, their issue is that they're not very good at reviewing a car. We've been doing this for a long time, and so we know how to kind of get to the nuts and bolts quickly. And then there's the other group of people who, you're absolutely right, live to put out a headline saying, don't you dare buy this, the worst car ever, or the worst ever, and then you have to click on it to find out what they're talking about, and it turns out they're quoting somebody who sent them an email or whatever. There's a lot of that out there.
Well, and the other thing that we see a lot is there's a lot of people with an axe to grind, right? Mm-hmm. Like all of a sudden something goes wrong with your vehicle, and that's when you hit the social media.
Yeah.
I'll give you two pretty good examples of this that have recently happened, and it's actually the mainstream media that does this too. So the first example of this was the Toyota Tundra. Mm-hmm. Remember this tempest in a teapot where the turbos were imploding on the new Tundra?
Oh, it was like Armageddon.
Yeah, and you had to basically do a cab off repair, right?
Yeah, I remember seeing that.
Right, and everybody was, oh my God, don't buy Tundra. The engine isn't. And this is Toyota, right? You figure Toyota, if anybody's going to get this right.
Right.
Well, when you do a little bit of digging into that story, and the problem is, if you do the digging, there's no news. And so people and media outlets don't cover it. It turned out that there were a handful of trucks that were built in a very specific time frame that had that problem. And I sympathize with the people who bought that truck because they were in a world of hurt, right?
Yeah.
But the bigger picture, the extrapolation that came out of that was that everybody who buys a Tundra is going to get turbo failure, and you're going to have to go to your dealer and do a 4-month cab off review, when it was just a handful of trucks, because that gets clicks, Nathan.
Yeah, the sky is falling. That whole thing.
Yeah. Well, you could do a headline saying something like 12 Tundras had to be recalled because of turbo failure.
Yeah, nobody's going to click on that.
No.
But if you say recall, Tundra, failure, and put those in there as opposed to the actual numbers, that tends to get a lot more clicks. And we are fully aware of it. Sometimes we pull stuff like that too, honestly. But we try not to. We try to be as transparent as possible. And one of the things...
we're competing in that world.
That's exactly it. And so we do have to remain relevant in order to do that. However, one of the things that people who watch us appreciate is the fact that we are honest as often as we humanly can be.
Yeah, I think transparent is a good way of saying it.
Yeah, transparent is the way to say it. But on top of that, we're also human. So we have our own... versions of prejudice, and we have our own versions of fanboyism.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, Tommy has Mini somewhere on his body printed, so he loves Mini to death. In fact, almost everybody at this office owns either a Mini or a BMW product.
You can't get past your internal bias.
When you love something, I admitted that I love a Power Wagon. Will I ever own one? Probably not. But look, that truck quite a bit. It's a fantastic truck. It speaks to me. But
so the way you do that is you say that. You're transparent about it.
Well, that's exactly it. And yet I can still say that the big Ford F-250 Tremor is fantastic as well. The point is that we have a large group of people out there who put out material that's very misleading and in many cases is based on some form of prejudice. They've already manufactured it within them, either one way or the other. So anyway, it's out there.
Here's another example.
Okay,
and I think I need to set this record straight because it's important, right?
Okay.
The new Bronco, right?
New Bronco.
Ours has a 2.7 liter twin turbo EcoBoost V6, right?
Yeah.
What's the story? Every time we put up a Bronco video, the comment is until the engine blows up. So
oh my God, I see that every time.
Every time. So I actually spoke to a Bronco engineer yesterday, and what ended up happening with Ford is that once again, same thing like the Toyota. There were some engines that were built poorly, and that did implode and left a small number of people. But the story is not that. It's not a small number of owners had their, and it's a bad thing, right? When I get it, when your engine blows up, it's a bad thing. But I was watching a story from Michigan about a woman who had that happen to her. She was picking up her kids, and the local TV station picked up on the story, and they were talking about like this was Armageddon, the end of the world, because her engine exploded with the kids and how dangerous that is. And that is not. I'm not saying it's safe, but the engine didn't start on fire. You just lose power.
Yeah.
Right. It's like if you have an old car and something goes wrong.
It just shut down. It's not like it actually detonated and the hood went flying off 50 feet in the air.
How many times has that happened to you over the years?
A few times I've had that happen, but not with a brand new vehicle.
My friend Fred had a GT6 in high school. That was just every time I got in that thing, I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna be pushing this thing. I know I'm gonna be pushing it.
We've all witnessed various forms of detonation.
Anyway, so the TV station reporter interviews her, and he's like, so now what do you think of the truck? Because Ford took it back, of course, they replaced the engine.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, I don't trust it now. And I'm like, my first thought is, I get that. I understand it. But if you don't trust it, then sell it. It's worth $20,000 more than you paid for it.
Seriously.
I know.
You're about to make a lot of dough.
But people want to be able to be kind of cranky and have their cake and eat it too, right? Mm-hmm. So if you don't trust a thing, I'm sure there's somebody out there willing to pay you $20,000 over it. So just sell it and go buy yourself whatever you trust.
Well, and this goes back to something that happened to us actually a while ago with our Land Rover Defender. And we had issues with the first 2 out of 3, and we got it right by the third one, and it was a great vehicle. But before then, we lost a little bit of trust with it. Did we go out there, though, and say, hey, we don't trust the brand? Not exactly. We were just saying that things are dubious.
We backed into it. We felt really bad about it. I felt terrible about that because I felt like I have like Tommy loves Minis. I have that thing for, Rovers, Land Rovers as well. It's weird.
Yeah, but the point is that, at the end of the day, you do have to recognize the fact that manufacturer issues do happen.
Yeah, of course.
And how do you deal with it after something's happened to you, particularly? We've had that, so we dealt with it a different way. But overall, the point is that you're going to get the spectacular headlines no matter which car you love or hate. And it's up to you to decide whether or not you're seeing the facts out there at a quick segment, or if you're going to go to somebody who actually goes in deep into the numbers and sees whether or not this is something major. If it's an NHTSA recall, it's big. Or if the automaker was said 50,000 cars have to come back. That's pretty big. Stuff like that. But if it's something that affects a very few amount of vehicles, then consider that. You keep it in mind.
Yeah, it's like I said, you don't get clicks by downplaying the story.
No.
Right? You get clicks by doing the exact opposite.
Well, it's the old news thing, right?
And then the other thing that never happens is I actually talked to a Ford engineer, and you'd be just amazed, Nathan, at how many websites and how many people don't bother to send out an email. Even if the reply is we don't comment, at least you tried, right?
Right.
It's just like, oh, look, this is what this outlet's reporting, so I'm going to just take what they're reporting, I'm going to reprint it or republish it, and I'm going to reuse it and then use them as a source. But that's not the source, right? The source is Ford. It's not some car website that decided to just publish a story.
Well, using a third party or fourth party it's a bad idea. That's why, at least at TFL and some of our competitors, you use more than one source, and you really do try to find, go to the automaker if possible.
Or like us, we do the testing ourselves.
Yes. Well,
right.
That's the other part.
So that segues.
And how many times did our Bronco blow up?
None.
Right.
None.
Despite bashing it around. It did have an issue with the suspension, but in terms of engine, and we beat the crap out of that thing. We drove it hard. No explosions. Nope. We're okay. Okay, so there it is. That kind of encapsulates it.
So let me use that as a segue to us doing our own testing. And I'm just going to not make you guys wait. I'm going to cut to the chase.
Okay.
This is what Tommy said after he did the tow test with the Lightning. Basically, you use 1% of the battery per mile.
Correct.
So you've got 100% of battery, which means you get 100 miles. So let's now back into it and tell them what we did. Why don't you were there, I wasn't there, why don't you explain what you guys did?
Okay, we took our brand new Ford F-150 Lightning with the large battery, which means better range. But
131 kilowatt hours.
131 kilowatt hour battery. And we also had sorry, I'm starting to lose my voice. Can you help me here?
Yeah, we also had a Chevy V8. So we wanted to compare a traditional V8 to an electric truck, because obviously there's this change coming where we're living through a moment in history which I think is really fun to live through, where we're going from the internal combustion engine to electrification. And I know there's a lot of people out there who don't believe that's happening, but it's happening.
It's progressively happening.
And Cadillac's not building anymore.
Right, and all automakers are showing that at a certain point in time they will either be all electric or electrified, meaning PHEVs as well. So
what was the truck that you guys had with the V8? Was that the GMC?
That was the GMC. It was the Sierra. It was the
6.2.
6.2, 1500 pickup. So it did have cylinder deactivation, although that really doesn't kick in when you're towing and under stress. Both vehicles towed identical trailers, which was 6,500 pound toy haulers. These were really unique ones too. They were really overbuilt, so even though they were fairly small in size, they were very heavy. And the other thing about them is that they had the aerodynamic qualities of a brick,
which we wanted.
And there are many factors you have to keep in mind when you're towing. And there's various types of drag. There's aerodynamic drag, that tends to be the shape of the vehicle. There's parasitic drag going on with various types of braking systems. Also, of course, tires. Tires matter. Do you have one axle? Do you have two axles? Do you have large tires for off-roading? Do you have smaller tires? All of that matters. This particular trailer did have two axles, so it was, and once again, very beefy. So it had extra drag both with the aerodynamics and the wheels, or tires. So keeping all that in mind, we went towards Colorado Springs.
Yeah, so initially we thought, you know what we'll do is we'll do two loops. We'll do it with the Lightning, and then we'll do the same loop with the V8. But then we thought, you know what? Nathan's absolutely right. Not only will you change conditions, right, because wind, but you'll also change traffic patterns. So we thought if we can get our hands on two identical trailers, we could do a really fun video, and that is to see which one goes farther. Is it the gas truck or is it the electric truck?
At the exact same time.
At the exact same time, following each other under identical conditions, so same wind,
same traffic,
everything. So we filled up the you guys fill up the V8 at Sinclair. Thank you, Sinclair. They're our new partner.
Yes, they are.
And
we use their app and everything. It worked out fine.
Discounts, yeah.
Yeah.
And then Tommy filled up the Lightning. He was driving that. So Andre was in the GMC. Tommy was in the Lightning, and you were in the chase truck. What were you driving?
So I was in the Ford F-150 hybrid. And the whole purpose of that, this is sort of in some ways a dry run for what we're going to be doing in the future. We're using that as a chase truck in the future for when we go to Alaska. That's a whole different thing. But the point of using this truck was the fact that you were able to plug in 220, so we could charge up the electric truck when it actually ran completely out of juice, which is what we were expecting.
Yeah, I mean, what you don't want to do is run out of juice on this, because we're on a highway, right? We're on 25.
Right.
Traffic zipping by you at 75 miles an hour, and you're dead in the water. That is crazy dangerous. So with the F-150 Power Boost, you can charge up the Lightning, or at least give it enough charge to get off the highway.
That's exactly what the whole purpose was. And also I carried some gasoline with me in case Andre ran out of gas.
So Tommy had, like you said, 131 kilowatt hour battery, and Andre had a 24-gallon fuel tank. So what happened, dude? So you left here.
Yep.
You drove through Denver, right?
Yeah, we headed to Denver. We went through Denver, and we thought that with some stop and go traffic, it might help out the Ford a little bit, but in terms of its range, usually with stop and go traffic, with regenerative braking, that does help a little bit. When it comes to highway driving, most electric vehicles are not happy.
Yeah. The faster you go, the more they use. So Tommy said, I talked to him, he said something interesting. He said, so keep in mind, we're just driving straight south at this point.
Yep.
So we're in Boulder, then the next big city is Denver,
Yep.
then the next big city along I-25 are the Springs, Colorado Springs, and then Pueblo.
Yep.
So when Tommy left, he told me the Electrify America station, fully charged, he had to input the trailer size and dimension into the Ford's computer navigation system. So Ford says it now take into account the trailer that you're towing.
Right.
And he said that when he did that, the truck told him that he could make it to Pueblo, which is like 130 miles, right?
That is correct.
From Boulder.
From where we are.
And I'll let you tell the
All
rest
right.
of the story.
So we start heading south, and it's already apparent almost immediately when we get on the highway that he's burning a lot more energy than he expected. Meanwhile, Andre's just cruising along, no problem. Typical V8, just humming along. Minimum traffic. There was a little bit of wind. I would say about 10 miles per hour on and off breeze.
Were you guys doing the speed limit?
We were doing the speed limit,
Which is?
and well, it depends. It's between 55 and 65.
Okay.
Heading on I-25 south. And there's one part that's 75 too, but it's a fairly small section. We never went that fast. We kind of kept it around 5 miles up or below the speed limit under more normal circumstances. I can't speak, because there's a lot of traffic, and so you have to speed around cars sometimes. Okay, so we head down there basically as a caravan, and by the time we got to Mile High Stadium, which is downtown Denver.
So now we're talking, if you leave
from
Boulder,
here,
so you're like 35 miles.
If that, yeah, it was around 30 miles.
Yeah.
And Tommy began to realize, there's no way I'm making Pueblo. So he started doing some calculations, trying to figure out where his stop should be, because there's a point where there's several miles between stops where you can actually get to a proper charger.
Yeah, so that reason we thought about going like up in the mountains. We thought about going west, right, which is into like Kansas or Nebraska,
Right.
north. But the reason we chose south was because there's the most Electrify America or level 3 DC charger. So obviously once you get through Denver, you hit Castle Rock, there's a charger there. You hit Monument, I think there's a charger there, right? There's a Walmart.
Larkspur as well.
Yeah, there's one in the Springs.
Yeah,
so
Manitou.
we want to be as close to the DC fast chargers as possible.
Now bear in mind, this is DC fast chargers. There are some other level 2s that were scattered as well, but this is just...
Yeah, that can help us.
Yeah, that would take forever to charge the truck, whereas in the fast charger, we could do it much quicker. And also, real quick, Tommy had to charge this up to 100%, by the way, before we did this trip, as opposed to 80%, which is what the manufacturer suggests. That gives you better battery longevity. We don't expect to be doing this every single time we charge the truck, by the way. This is just for this one test. Anyway, so we get past the stadium. We're now heading south, and we're about to get out of Denver, and Tommy's already kind of freaking out. which is great for me because I'm just hanging out there going, hey, I'm here to help. That's all I got to worry about. Drinking my coffee, relaxing to some music, and the cameraman's with me, and we're shooting the video. So a lot of the video you see was created by us having a chase vehicle. Now we're officially at Lone Tree, which is south of Denver, and it's right before you go up and over the hill to Castle Rock. Now, there is a hill, and hills with towing on a highway murder for range on electric pickup trucks. So I can tell you that right now. So whatever he may have made up with some slight braking in traffic, he completely lost doing this hill. By the time we got down the hill and we were going through Castle Rock, which is now, we're about 50 to 60 miles away, Tommy's starting to lose it because he knows there's no way he's going to make Pueblo, and there's no way he's going to make Colorado Springs.
Which is only like 100 and some miles. It's not.
It's
not far.
It's not far. He may have. I think he could have made the Springs, but he would have been completely out of juice, like on the road, dead. And there's a problem. There's a lot of construction that happens on I-25, and you do not want to be on the shoulder if you can avoid it, especially with a large trailer and pickup truck. So Tommy decided to err on the side of caution. Once we passed Castle Rock, he realized there's no Charger coming up for a while.
So, a while, I mean like 10 miles.
So he felt it would be a good idea to get off the highway, turn around, and find the Charger that he already passed in Castle Rock.
Yeah.
So you have to add that mileage all together. And meanwhile, he's sweating bullets because now we're on a frontage road, cruising along. Andre's laughing because he's not the one who's freaking out. And we are heading back to Castle Rock, heading north to get to a proper Charger, which is at a Walmart, by the way. Tommy had to get back on the highway, which gets speeding up. That's really, really horrible for range. And by the time he got to the Charger, I think we had used 80-something miles. It was like 83?
I think he said 87.
87 miles?
Yeah,
okay.
and it had like 9% of charge left.
Right. So in theory, 100 miles was doable, but it would have been on the side of the road dead. He would not have made it to Colorado Springs.
So originally the plan was to keep Andre to keep going and see how far he could go before he runs out. But then we thought, you know what? Let's see if Andre's truck can double the distance.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean? So because he already turned around, so let's see if he can go twice as far as Tommy. And so Tommy turned around and Andre turned around. Obviously, Tommy had to charge up.
Yep.
Andre didn't.
Yep.
And then he headed back toward Boulder and Denver.
That's right. So I followed Andre back up. Tommy was done, and we knew that he'd take a while to charge. And so the boys went and got themselves some chicken.
Yeah.
And we headed north. And by the time we got to the gas station that we started from, Tommy had just left the Charger, and we were in the process of filling up with gasoline. So it turns out that we're more than able to double the mileage in an
Andre said
equivalent
you had a
truck.
quarter tank left when you got back.
Yeah, I'd say it was around a quarter of a tank. Yeah.
So the gas truck with a small gas, let's face it, 24-gallon.
Tiny for 1,500.
Not only doubled it, but could have maybe gone like 2.5 times as far.
I think so. And we didn't hypermile either. By the way, we did regular driving. Yeah, we were going through traffic, but had we gone slower, had we stuck behind a large semi or something like that and done all the tricks for hypermiling, sure, we could have gotten more range out of both trucks. But we drove them like a regular person would drive them, and these are the results we got. So at the end of the day, the gas truck towing exactly the same load in exactly the same environment got more than double the distance than the equivalent electric half-ton pickup truck.
Yeah, wow. So basically, like Tommy said, 1% per 1 mile of battery. 1 mile per 1% of battery. So you go 100 miles.
This
pretty
is
much.
under extreme loads. Now remember that
Look.
But I just let me point. Wait, real quick. Wait.
So how much is a tow? How much is a tow?
They start at 7,700 pounds. They go all the way up to 10,000.
Yeah, ours tow is 10K.
Yeah.
So we were towing 65.
I know, and so in a short distance, towing up to 10,000 pounds it doesn't care. That there's so much torque.
So the good news is it doesn't care about the load.
No, it just moves. And that was the thing. Tommy had no problem with acceleration. There was no hesitation. Immediate torque. All of that is great. It's just range.
How about stability? It's very heavy.
Yeah, so the truck itself is really heavy. So when Andre was zooming...
1,600 pounds.
Right. Andre was moving really quick, and the trailer was dancing, and he was dancing a little bit from time to time. Tommy doing exactly the same speeds. Rock solid, not moving at all. Both the trailer and the truck. Now the truck does calculate, hey, there's a trailer behind me, and if it's moving around, it figures it out, and it actually can brake accordingly, both the truck and in some cases the trailer. The overall experience of driving and towing for Tommy was a much smoother experience than Andre's, with the exception of the range anxiety. One other thing, when we got to the Charger, there were two choices. One, we block off the entire part of the parking lot, right?
Because there are no drive-through Chargers, or
No,
if they do exist, I've never seen one.
Yeah, actually, this wasn't a Walmart. It was a Target, basically the same type of thing, right? So Tommy had to pull straight in. I actually took a picture of this, and he blocked off several lanes of traffic that would have normally had access to Target parking lot because he had to pull straight into the Charger to plug in this truck. Now,
So his choice was pull in the long way, sideways, and block all the Chargers, or pull in straight and have...
Yes, and there was one more choice, which he could, and this would have been a real pain, disconnect the trailer, park it somewhere, and then go and separately charge up. And what a pain in the neck that is for those people who are trying to drive cross country. So they have yet to address that, among many other issues. The ability to go through a drive-through just like you would a gas pump, sideways, plug in, and then continue. And of course, the other issue is that it's not as quick as going to a gas pump, not just getting the electricity into your vehicle, but actually getting the system to configure and get ready to go and give you that energy as well. So we're still behind. It's still going to take some time for all that stuff to catch up. It's better than it used to be, though. And as they improve, hopefully all of those things will be addressed. But one final note in terms of towing, and I talked to a Ford engineer because I went to the event for the Pro version of the truck, which is basically the base model worker version of the truck, less expensive. And he told me...
Starts at $39.
Yes, they start at $39, but that's with the smaller battery.
Ours is a Lariat. It was $80.
Yeah, I know. Basically double the price. But the point is that he told me if you're looking at a fleet vehicle, fantastic, because most fleet vehicles don't tow. They just carry some loads to various places.
Like if you're let's say, an Advanced Auto or something, right?
Right, or working for the city or the state.
Driving
or something
around
like that.
the city.
Yeah, doing inspections and whatnot, stop and go.
Right.
If you're towing, he just said that's the whole purpose of us building the hybrid, which is really the best of both worlds, he was trying to say. And I tried to interrupt him saying, well, why don't you make a plug-in hybrid? But I didn't get a chance to say that, which would have been a hell of an argument.
Now the other thing that maybe you can tell me about this, the other thing that Andre wanted to test was, so Ford has an autonomous driving system called Blue Cruise.
That is correct.
But it doesn't work when towing.
Well, it'll activate, but it won't do what the one that the GM Super Cruise will do.
Yeah, so Andre had Super Cruise, which actually uses information with the trailer and allows you to tow and allows you to change lanes.
That's the thing, changing the lanes.
How did Andre's do using?
Andre's was fantastic.
Yeah?
It's definitely definitely more advanced than the
Super
one that's
Cruise is
Ford.
better.
Yeah, it is. It just is. But
no, Ford doesn't allow you to tow. At least it's not supposed to with Blue Cruise.
Yeah, I don't know if Tommy used that or not. But I do know how the Blue Cruise works in general. And the vehicle I was driving actually had it as well, the hybrid as the chase truck. Yeah. I tried it. I'd never tried it before.
Did you like it?
Yeah, except I don't like being yelled at about putting my hand on the steering wheel. And the thing is about that, I had my hands on the steering wheel and it's telling me to grab the steering wheel. I'm like, I'm grabbing it, bro. So what it wants you to do is shake it a little bit.
Yeah, let it,
and then.
But it's also hands off. Did you try hands off?
Yeah, I finally figured that part out too. Oh, and another thing is that when I glanced downwards to look at the other things on the screen in front of me, it yelled at me to look up.
Yeah, because it watches your eyes.
Yeah, it was watching my eyes, even with sunglasses on, so it can kind of figure out roughly where your eyes are. So that's pretty interesting. It worked fine. I know Super Cruise is a little bit more advanced. It has a lot more technology that it adds to it. But I think that these two systems are the wave of the future. They're definitely not full autonomy. And I think this is as far as we should go personally in terms of autonomy.
You don't want trucks driving you around.
No. I mean, there's one thing I've always, when I first heard about autonomy years ago, I thought it would be really cool if you went and had one too many at a bar or at a party.
Sure.
That you can crawl into the backseat of your car and tell your car to take me home.
Yeah, like your own personal Uber.
Yeah, exactly. Take me home. Just take me home. And not be near the steering wheel so you wouldn't do anything like vomit on it or crash or whatever. And I thought that would be really cool. But then there's the whole thing about Big Brother and all that other stuff. So I totally get it. Bottom line here is that both trucks towed very well. And I actually thought that the Ford did a wonderful job. And I'm not too surprised about the fact that it lost, well, in this case, more than half its mileage. I am a little shocked, to be honest with you, that it didn't recoup more of its power as it drove down the road in traffic, I thought that Tommy might do a little bit better. And Tommy was not being savage with the driving either. He was driving, I think, pretty consistently. So, yeah, if you guys are serious about towing, that's not the truck for you. But if you're serious about everything else and occasionally towing short distances, different story.
Now, I think it's important here to mention that this is not just the Ford. We don't want to pick on Ford, the Lightning,
This
right?
is the only truck we have that's got electric that's a half-ton truck.
Yeah. I'm saying it's not just Ford. There was a story we did maybe 6 months ago where a Rivian engineer who was working in Normal, Illinois, got transferred to California. And he published his trip across country, and he was towing a race car.
Oh, I remember that.
Remember that? Yeah. And he had the exact same experience. Basically, same size battery, give or take, he gets 100 miles of range. And, towing from Normal, Illinois to L.A., that's a lot of stopping.
That's like 15 stops just for juicing up.
And the problem is, normally when you're driving an electric car across country or a truck, you never go to 0 and you never fill up to 80.
No.
But because you're using so much energy towing, you have to go from below, let's say 20%, which would be ideal, to usually 100% if you want to make it to the next supercharger, if you're in a Tesla, or if you want to make it to the next EA station or whatever, if you're in a non-Tesla product.
Right.
And so then you're stuck sitting there charging for at least normally you could top off or you could fill the thing up in 15, 20 minutes, but now you're there for 40 minutes waiting for it to go from, let's say, 2% to 100%. It's just not a great situation. So towing is really the Achilles heel, I think, of electric vehicles in general.
Yeah, and it's not going to be an easy fix either. And I know that they've been working on it. Obviously, one of the easiest things they can do, I say easiest, it's not going to be easy, is that they make the truck lighter, the batteries lighter and more dense and more capable.
Yeah, I mean, that's a problem.
In time.
The other thing people forget is that internal combustion engines use a heck of a lot more gasoline, right? So,
yeah.
We've been doing a lot of towing over the last 12 years. So if you've got a regular truck and it's getting 20 mpg, you start towing it down to like 6, 7 mpg. So it's just because gas has a lot more energy density than electricity, than batteries do.
Yeah, and the other thing is that transferring power. When you put gas into your car or truck, it's gas. It goes right into the truck. There's really no loss. Whereas if you're putting electricity into any electric vehicle, there is loss going through the lines as it goes into the vehicle.
Yeah, so there's no loss when you put it in, but there's a boatload of loss when you actually burn it.
No, even when you put it in through the line, there
No.
be
An electric vehicle, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. Because you're using heat, right?
Yeah.
You're heating up the cable. So there is some parasitic loss, but there's a boatload more parasitic loss when you actually burn the gasoline in the truck.
Oh,
right? At that point,
that's what the exhaust pipe is for.
70% of it is going to heating the engine up, and 30% is going to moving you forward.
Yeah, I mean, it depends, of course, on fuel injection, blah, 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 blah. But the whole point is that in terms of overall efficiency, thermodynamics, and the way these systems work, you can definitely see that there's a lot of loss from both. But the point of gas right now is that you can stop at a gas station and fully fill up your car or truck in 10 minutes or less.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Almost any vehicle out there.
2 minutes or less.
Well, it depends on the vehicle. I mean, some of our trucks have pretty big gas tanks. Your electric vehicle, no matter what, you're going to be there for a while. And that's something to keep in mind. Towing, cut your range in half right off the bat with anything that's over a couple thousand pounds. However, I would like to see us tow, when we have a chance, with the Lightning, with a couple light trailers. I'm curious to see what the loss is on that. Maybe if we tow something that's 2,000 pounds, maybe a small trailer with a ATV on it.
Like a small, either, like you said, motorcycle trailer or small, teardrop camper.
Why not?
Yeah, we really wanted, we went big, right? How long were these things? 20 feet long? Were they that long?
No, well, yeah, they're about, they were 20 feet, give or take.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were very dense packages, an unusual axle setup, too. They were very far apart. And very, very thick frames because they're built to hold heavy vehicles inside because they're toy haulers.
So we went extreme.
Yeah, we did. We really did. I would like to see this truck tow with something a lot lighter. Maybe a small trailer, because a lot of people out there understand, hey, if I tow a giant trailer with an electric truck, I'm not going to get anywhere. However, maybe if I tow a small trailer with an electric truck, maybe I can go even further.
Yeah, this is where there's a grand opening here for Ram to do, let's say, a diesel range extender, right? So you have a battery, and then you have diesels are really good at high torque output
At low RPM.
At low RPM, and then maybe you put a small diesel in there and make it a generator so that you can charge up the battery or power the either way. Like locomotives do that, right?
Yeah. Well, we're hearing that the Ram Revolution will have an all-electric version, and they say something that has extended range. We just don't know what type.
Yeah, there are no plug-in hybrid trucks at this moment.
Currently, there are no plug-in hybrid pickup trucks, and I think that that's a huge mistake by all automakers. That if they were able to put in, let's say, and I'm just throwing it out here, a 50 kilowatt hour battery, something really big that gave that truck, a good 50, 60 mile range in all electric mode, that would be a game changer. And it would give you the best of both worlds, I think. Not only that, but all trucks need to follow Ford in terms of having their Pro Power, what was that called?
Pro Power onboard.
Yeah.
Onboard. So you can actually power stuff with the truck.
I think that is a dynamic change
in
the entire world.
Here's some interesting numbers, which are mind-blowing. So, just to drive an electric vehicle down the road uses an immense amount of energy. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't think it is, but, you forget how energy-hungry vehicles are. So I'll put that into perspective for you, Nathan. So Ford says it could power your house for 3 days, but in fact it's probably more. So the average home in America, and I looked this up, uses about 29 kilowatt hours of energy per day. 29. So let's call it 30.
Okay.
The Lightning has 131 kilowatt hours. So multiply 30 by 4.
Yeah, you
right?
can do 4 days.
You could power your house for 4 days.
That's on a maximum if you're fully charged, of course.
Yeah, that includes air conditioning, that includes oven, that includes water heater, that includes TVs, electronics, internet, everything for 4 days, using the same amount of energy that could pull a 6,500 pound trailer for barely 100 miles.
Yep. That's exactly it.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
There's so much loss that happens when a truck moves. And by the way, some of you guys are like, and it doesn't make any sense when they go over and get charged up at these various places because they're really expensive and slow too. I agree. However, there are people who charge at home, and there are people who have solar panels at home that you could charge with. Now, I admit they are expensive, but you can buy a house that already has solar panels, and at least in the state of Colorado, they have to be paid for before you sell the house, which I just did. I just bought a house that has solar panels. I'm so happy. The Tesla solar panels on the roof. So what I can do with my electric car, my kid has one, is I can plug it in.
It's a Leaf.
It's a Leaf, so it has a 30 kilowatt hour battery. It's a quarter the size of the one that's in the the Ford. But I can plug it up and pretty much just do it off the grid with solar energy. Something as big as the Ford would take a few different days of plugging it in at the right hours in order to actually almost charge it for free, but it can be done, and that's kind of the point. So if you have alternative sources of power that go into your house, especially if you have a battery bank, which really helps, you can effectively charge a vehicle like this for very little money.
So initially when I interviewed Mr. Musk, this is like 12 years ago, right? He said his dream was to have a house that has a battery that, the sun charges up the battery, and then you can plug in the Tesla and then charge the Tesla from the battery or from the solar power, either way, right? That was his dream. So you never use energy off of the grid,
right.
And so you're not creating any carbon because you're, generating your own power at home. That, kind of sort of went out the window because, it was hard enough selling cars. So there are some people who can do that. But here's something really interesting. So a Tesla Powerwall is 10 kilowatt hours. So if you have
or 20, you can get the 20 pack as well.
You have the solar panels, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you want to add that Powerwall for 10 kilowatt hours, it'd be $10,000.
Yeah, roughly.
That's how much a Tesla Powerwall costs. So that's only 10 kilowatt hours.
Mm-hmm.
Our Lightning cost $81,000 for 130 kilowatts. So if you do it by battery cost, right? Mm-hmm. The Lightning is not only a truck, but it's a battery bargain if you want to use it to actually, plug into your home, because for $81,000 you're getting 131 kilowatt hours of power, versus if you did that with a Tesla Powerwall, you'd have to spend $130,000 in batteries, and then you'd have them sitting there and you couldn't drive them around.
No, yeah, and they're built to be wall mounted, by the way. Now, my house in particular, just saying this, I am going to be putting in a Powerwall. I can find a much less expensive 5 kilowatt hour setup that works, because I already have all the other stuff. I have an inverter and everything else, and I can plug that in. And my house is efficient enough between the solar panels and the battery to run, with the exception of snowy days. run on all solar and battery power
That's
pretty
cool.
much all the time. Yeah, so I'm wired to do that. But I'm lucky because I bought a house that already has it and it's paid off. If you have to buy the solar panels, which by the way, they're panels, they're not the little tiles.
Right, they're panels.
Those tiles,
They're big panels.
Yeah, these are big panels. I have 19 of them. They are the system I have is about $15,000 or $16,000 that went in there, and now you cannot find anything to be installed this year.
Yeah, it's all sold out.
It's all sold out.
Yeah,
it's completely sold out.
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Do you have like a little controller that tells you how many kilowatts you're producing?
Yes, exactly. I can see exactly how much I'm burning. And the cool part about that is it's a really primitive one, though. It's not as cool as like a big digital display,
Right.
which I kind of wanted because I'm an idiot and I need to read things. But basically, it'll tell me how much I'm burning at the time and whether or not I'm using my energy or if I'm using
Off the
city
grid?
energy, right?
So have you paid an electrical bill yet?
No, I just bought the house.
Okay.
So, I
So you don't
haven't
know
paid-
yet?
No, I haven't. But the farmer owners, who are really nice people, said that they got paid back from the city from time to time, or from the power company.
Every so often, yeah.
Yeah, they'll get a check back just like for $1 or for 80 cents or stuff like
So
that.
basically, you just got rid of your electric bill.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, but there is an issue. Maintenance does cost money. These things, I mean, solar panels are relatively maintenance free for a while, but they only have a shelf life of like 10 to 20 years. As long as they're taken care of. We live in an environment that's very hard on solar panels because we get a lot of snow and hail. Colorado's rough, so these things may not last that long.
So if you're in like Arizona, it's ideal.
Yeah, exactly, or Southern California perhaps.
Yeah.
But the bottom line here is that a lot of people don't want to go through that. People live in apartments; they can't even plug in, much less use a solar panel.
So I'll tell you a fun story.
Yeah.
We had a guy came up from actually Texas. And he wanted to build his house off the grid, so he installed 5 Tesla Powerwalls in his house.
Damn. Okay.
And this was before that horrible outage in Texas, like a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, right?
Well, during winter when everything went down.
Yeah, where like the snow and took out the whole power grid.
Yeah.
And this is important, entire power grid, right? So apparently Tesla is seamless. So if you have a Tesla app, which we have because we've had owned 3 Teslas, the Powerwall integrates with the app, so that if you're charging your house and you're charging your car, it's all in one place. So like to turn the Powerwall on, you would use the app. So guess what happened when the grid went down?
The app went down too?
Yeah, because he lost cell service, right? Because cell phones went down because he couldn't control the Powerwall because there was no physical control for the Powerwall.
So he wasn't able to
He
go
wasn't
home?
able to.
So he couldn't even turn it on at home?
No.
Oh, see, I got to switch.
He had 5 kilowatt hours of 50 kilowatt hours of power that he couldn't access.
He couldn't even use it
because it was on his phone, and the grid went down, and that took down the cell phone grid as well. And so he had to go and retrofit like a manual controller so he could actually switch, because you have to. The thing is, you have to be able to switch also from the grid to the batteries, right?
Well,
so you're good, right? Because you're just going back and forth. But when you have batteries, you have to be able to make.
Yeah, well, and the batteries are split, so it splits off of it, and you have to have its own junction box. It's got to have its own complete setup that hooks up to your inverter.
So this is one of the things we're trying to do, because we're just learning this world. When we bought our Lightning, and Ford or Sunrun has not contacted us, we got the inverter. So we're waiting for Sunrun to contact us so that we can actually put the inverter in at the ranch up at Tumbleweed and actually be able to power that house off the inverter. So Sunrun or Ford, where's our inverter? Because we want to do a video on this, and this is good stuff for you, right?
Yeah.
This allows, we're one of the first Lightning owners to have it, and we've got this massive audience, well over 1 million subscribers on YouTube. So Sunrun, we would love to actually show how a Lightning can power the home, but you got to call us. Like, nobody's called us. I kind of feel like we didn't get the charger, no charger, no inverter, and apparently Ford decided to troll Tesla by putting in the adapter so you could actually power a Tesla. No adapter. So maybe because we were so early to the game, which I'm grateful for, but still, inverter, wall charger, we paid $3,000 for that.
Yeah.
None, and the little Tesla dongle, didn't get it either. So we got the truck.
We got the truck.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And in today's world, that's That's what counts.
And I'm sure that's part of the problem is that there's probably some backups going on with supplies, and I know that everybody's dealing with it. But
it took us a year to get the hardtop for the Bronco.
Oh, I know.
A year.
I know, man. It's crazy. Well, anyway, there you have it, guys. We did get a chance to seriously tow with the brand new Lightning, and it was. I still say that there's some positive there. We did learn that the Lightning can tow like a train, but just a very short distance train.
Yeah. So, look, Nathan, I think this is like, electric vehicles back in the day when the Model T came out. I know electric vehicles have been around since back then, but let's face it, nobody's really done a lot of development in electric vehicles until recently, right? There's been this renaissance of electric power. And the one thing I would say before people are like, told you so, right, is I used to live in Prague for a while, and people would come and move to Prague, and what they would do is they would compare living in Prague to living in America. Oh, I can't get Diet Coke here. I'm like, yeah, you can't. It's hard. Mm-hmm. And then they would make themselves miserable because they would say, America is much better. I can get anything I want at any time. And I would tell them, if you want to be happy here, it's not better, it's not worse, it's different. Just think about it that way. And I would highly recommend for all you, like, unfortunately, it's become political, like masks, right?
Yeah,
where the world is split into like two different tribes. You can take the V8 out of my cold dead hands to the people who are like, you guys are killing the environment and Mother Earth with your V8, right?
Sure.
And it shouldn't be that way, right? No one's trying to take the V8 away, at least this point. The way they're trying to do it is by incentivizing electrification. And if the government's willing to give you or me $7,500, I'll take it.
Yeah, seriously.
Right? And if you're on the other side of the coin, right, and you're like, that's not fair, I'd be like, hey, farmers have been getting incentives for the last 200 years in America. So, the government, if you're going to get on the government trough and, suckle at the teat of government, then I'll take that. All right? And if you want internal combustion, it's out there.
Yeah, that's
get yourself a heavy duty tow.
Yeah,
like ours. We got a 2500 Cummins. I love that truck. It tows like a monster.
I think that for those of you who are thinking about, especially if you're in a city center or near one, and you want to commute and you want a pickup truck, these things make a lot of sense. If you need to tow or
get yourself a heavy duty truck. And I'm not just advocating for Cummins. Get yourself a Ram, a Ford, a Chevy, Duramax, whatever it is.
Yeah,
super duty.
There's plenty of choices that are still out there. I think, and this is the cool thing about doing what we do.
I know.
I have an opportunity Roman has an opportunity, so does Andre, of going out there and driving all these vehicles, and so we can see the pros and cons on all of them. And as much as some people hate them and as much as some people love them, once again, there are pros and cons to everything.
It's not better. It's different. And you've got a choice right now.
Exactly. You have a choice.
You have a choice, You have a choice. No one's forcing anybody to go electric. And at some point, it's probably going to go that way because that's where the market's going to go.
Right.
We just had two guys here, and they were both like, Land Rover guy. One was a Bronco guy. And they were both like, I think we're going to like electric vehicles because they're better in a lot of ways. And once again, I said not better or worse, but they are freaking quick. We took that Lightning to Bandimere, Nathan.
Oh my God, I think it was a hammer. It was ridiculous. One final note I wanted to get with you guys about, and that is that we're not political at TFL. Never have been, never will be.
We do cars and
you
trucks,
guys come here to not hear politics. You want to hear about cars and trucks and motorcycles and all the other stuff we play with, and that's what you're going to get. So that's why we are in the middle of everything. We're not going to take a side on any of that, just so you guys know.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. We do cars and trucks, not politics. Yeah, and we hopefully look at the vehicles for what they are and not for what people
what they represent. All that stuff.
No. It's like the engineering behind it. Does it work? And then we put the test out there, like with this, and then we let you guys decide. Is it right for you? All right, dude. That was a great podcast.
That was a long one, guys.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. And then next week, you and Andre are going to be doing a really fun podcast. Tell me what's coming up.
Well, we're going to be talking about the least expensive trucks you can buy. I know that some of it seems like obvious, but not all of it is. There are a few surprises in this list that Andre painstakingly put together.
Yeah, that'll be cool. And then over at TFL Bids, we're selling the Escalade that Andre drove on Go Big. So if you want really well taken care of. It's a good Escalade, right? That thing is pretty.
It finally smells decent too.
Yeah, after 6 months of owning it.
Well, we left the windows open almost the entire time, but it's actually in really good shape.
Okay, it's a little stinky.
Well, there's a reason why I liked it a lot on that trip. It's a great driving truck.
The guy who owned it was a smoker.
Oh yeah,
but he was fastidious about taking care of it, which is weird because, like, you know.
Yeah, you would just think that smokers or whatever, but no, there's no ash or burn marks.
No. He was fastidious. The truck is good, and it's just a little smoky now. Just a little.
It's so much better than that. But most importantly, Andre graced it with his
Russian Andre.
Yeah. So and he loved it too. Everybody at the studio really likes that truck.
Did you fill it with borscht instead of smoke?
No, he left it alone.
That can't smell good either.
Well, no, it doesn't. But anyway, so that truck is up there. So definitely have a look at it.
Thanks to our friends at BMG, it's got new KO2s.
Yeah, I think it has KO2s.
Yeah, brand new.
Yeah,
nice.
they're good tires, man.
Yeah, and it's good off road, surprisingly. Actually.
I told you.
Yeah.
I was really surprised with it. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us. We will see you next week.
Ciao.